All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro. Chris Wynn in studio as our guest. Glad you could join us. In the first segment, we were talking a little bit about Donald Trump, Trumpy, and at the very least, insensitive remarks. And we had a caller on the phone, Rose, who said that people are too sensitive. I would say the President of the United States right now is probably the most sensitive, thin-skinned person we have ever had in the Oval Office. That's just my opinion. So I asked Rose to wait on hold to continue the conversation. Rose, thank you for holding. Go ahead, make your point.
Okay, I'm trying to think of all this. And you say he's thin-skinned. What, because he calls people out? You know, I don't care.
Can I ask you a question?
With some stupid chick. Mm-hmm. I don't care. Like I said, he had sex with her, yeah.
Can I ask you a question, Rose?
But he didn't rape her.
No, nobody. I don't know why
Rose,
you.
Rose, that's a very valid point.
That's nobody ever said.
That's 100% true.
Okay,
I
Rose.
don't care.
Do you
because
care?
As long as the country where it needs to be, you know, we got. Oh, you know, let me give you an example.
Okay,
you know,
please.
Oh, Trump sucks. Trump sucks. I'm sorry.
Excuse me. I have reasons. Okay, hold on, Rose.
It's not just
Rose.
a statement.
Rose, hold on a second. Do you have a problem with the President of the United States going after a former POW, a man who served this country honorably, who says he doesn't think, you know, he doesn't respect John McCain because he was captured? Or is that just being? Am I just being too sensitive for you, Rose?
You know.
No, not you know.
Nobody
Answer
said
the question.
When they sat there and said that he was...
Answer the question. I'm asking you a question.
No,
if you don't want to answer my question, I'm going to hang up on you, you nitwit. Answer the question.
Hey,
yeah, no, don't you hate me.
No.
Don't be sensitive. Rose, you're too sensitive for me. I'm hanging up the phone. Goodbye, Rose. You're too sensitive. I gave you a chance.
Hey, Rose, great call.
You're too sensitive. I called you a nitwit and you were offended, but yet you're not offended when the President of the United States or the man who is trying to be the President of the United States goes after John McCain, a war hero. You don't have any problem with that, but I call you a nitwit on the show and then you're offended. You're a moron, Rose. Thank you for calling in, though. We appreciate it. JD is next. JD, thanks for calling in. How are you, JD?
Wow.
You got me laughing, Brian. Good job. I guarantee you, the boss, and I'm going to give him a new nickname now, the boss didn't have any clue about Trails of Tears. I guarantee you 95% of the country doesn't know anything about it.
That's an assumption.
And I would imagine a larger portion of Native Americans don't even know about it.
I hope 90% of the country isn't like Rose. I'll tell you that. Go ahead, JD.
And, you know, I'd like to ask all you guys, are you familiar? I'm a little older, so maybe you're not familiar, but are you familiar with any of the terms that were used when my growing up years in the 40s and 50s of Italians, Irish, Polish, German, Jews, and blacks other than the N-word?
Yes, I am. I'm not going to say them on the air, but I absolutely am.
Yeah.
Well, I survived them along in growing up in a Polish, German, Jewish neighborhood.
Did Donald Trump call you any of those names?
Pardon me?
Did Trump call you any of those names? Oh, wait. No, he wasn't president yet. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm of Italian heritage.
Yes.
So I got my share, and we gave our share back. Mm-hmm. And we survived it. We grew up with it. It made us tougher.
That doesn't make it right.
The things that you guys are complaining about are so trivial that...
Trivial? Wait, hold on a second. You think calling someone racist names is trivial? You think it makes you tougher? If I call you a racist name because of your heritage, JD, you think it's a good thing? It's a positive thing because it made you tougher? What are you talking about? Nobody would agree with you on that unless you're a hateful person. With all due respect, JD, there should be nothing like that in our society, especially our elected officials. I'm not just talking about Donald Trump. I'm talking about across the board. You should not paint your face black. You shouldn't wear a KKK outfit. You shouldn't call people names. I'm not going to say the names on the air, JD, but there are a lot of hurtful terminologies that people use, maybe the 50s and 60s and today. It should not be tolerated, and we should call it out, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat. I'm glad you're a tough guy, JD, and I'm glad you didn't succumb to hateful rhetoric or racist out there. I'm happy for you, JD, but with all due respect, that is not a rationality for saying it's okay.
We all did.
That's not a rationality for saying it's okay.
And then we went out and played baseball for 10 hours.
So what?
Or football.
Your rationality, JD, we agree sometimes. I don't understand your rationality. With all due respect, you're making no sense. You're saying because someone uses racist terms towards you, you're happy because it made you stronger and then you went to play baseball? You make no sense.
I didn't say I was happy. I just said that were the times that I grew up with, and it didn't. We weren't snowflakes, and it didn't harm
stop
us.
it. See, that's where you lose me, JD. So if someone says a racist term and you don't like it, you're a snowflake? Oh, stop it. JD, well, let me tell you something. This isn't the 50s or the 60s, okay? It's 2019. You call me young fella all the time. I'll say this to you, old fella, okay? Old fella, JD. Just because this isn't the 50s and 60s, and just because in the 50s and 60s you didn't let racist terms bother you, doesn't mean that everybody should think like JD and go on the baseball field afterwards, okay?
I get your point.
Good.
One final thing, and then I'd like to hear JD and Mr. Wynn's take on what I said.
Please.
Okay, we got yours. They look at every little word. Nora O'Donnell reported this thing about trails, and it's just campaign trails. How about Sarah Palin? They did the same thing with her when.
Yeah,
Gabby
I feel so bad for her because she's such a smart woman. I feel so bad for Sarah Palin.
Let me finish. And because of targets, where everybody puts targets on their programs and what have you. So it's a way of being critical of anybody that you want to, because we could do it to everybody for anything practically.
All right.
A misstep.
Let's hear JD and Chris respond. JD, I do appreciate the call. You always fire me up a little bit, but thank you, JD. All right. Thank you, JD.
Thanks, JD.
Go ahead. Respond to what JD had to say.
Am I offended by someone calling me a derogatory term about a white person or a Dutch person or a German person? No, I'm not. I'm just not.
That's just you.
I'm just not. Words don't really affect me too much in that regard, but maybe that's because my people, so to speak, haven't been oppressed or discriminated against, et cetera, et cetera. So I come from a different place than the average person who would be potentially offended by something like that.
Just because there's a lot of people out there with thick skin, that can take being criticized or being made fun of. Look, as someone who has tough skin myself, look, I'm a stocky kind of guy, and if somebody says that I'm fat, I may be hurt by that, but it's not going to affect my overall
and not only that,
day of life.
If you're stocky and if you're heavyset, that's something that you could definitely control. You could change it. You kind of creted that.
Point being is that
yourself. My
point being is that I'm going to talk about what JD brought up. JD was talking about how we're tough people. Yeah, JD, you're absolutely right. There's people out there that it's going to roll off their back. They're not worried about it, right? If you're going to get criticized in some type of way, but the fact of the matter, just because we're tough people, right? And we can take it, and you can take criticism, you can take, comments that are derogatory towards yourself. It doesn't make it right.
That's my point.
It doesn't make it.
Thank you.
It shouldn't be. It particularly doesn't make it right when you are the president of the United States.
Absolutely.
And there's this thing that there's this decorum that's expected of someone who's in that office. It's called being presidential.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
And nobody. If everybody, even Trump supporters out there, you have to at least acknowledge that there is a number of episodes and situations that Donald Trump is in no way presidential whatsoever. So, on this topic, I'd have to, kind of go down that road where I'm saying,
fair
look,
enough.
Just because you can do it and people are tough
doesn't mean it makes it right. That was my point. I just said it in a little more colorful way. Let's go back to the phone lines. Let's go with Travis, who's been waiting patiently on hold. We appreciate that, Travis. Thanks for calling in. How are you? Travis, are you there? I believe we've lost Travis. Yes. Travis? My apologies. They're giving out way too many Obama phones these days. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway, next caller would be Mike. Mike, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. How are you, Mike?
Hey, Mike.
Hey, guys. How you guys doing?
Good. What's on your mind?
Very well.
Hey, I want to thank you for having our Tarkanian on the line the other night.
Sure. Yeah, Danny was fantastic. We certainly don't agree politically, but I do respect his opinions.
I want to thank you because you finally couldn't overtalk somebody because he was in your face.
Well, you know what? I don't overtalk.
You couldn't call him names and hang up on him like a little wimp.
Well, first of all, and I'm not going to hang up on you, Mike. First of all, I respect Danny Tarkanian because I think he actually has a brain. Number two, when I invite somebody in the studio, even if I disagree with them, so long as they don't call me names or say stupid things, I will not talk over them. That's number two. And number three, his father was an absolute legend, but there's a reason why Danny Tarkanian hasn't been reelected. And I didn't want to bring that up because I didn't want to insult him face-to-face because I appreciated him coming in. Now, would you like to make a real point on this show, or would you like to try to insult me again? It's up to you, Mike.
I want to make a real point because if you had a real show, you would have brought that.
So I don't have a real show, but you're listening.
Don't be a snowflake.
Okay, I'll respond to that. I'll respond to that. if this isn't a real show, then what does that make you? The fact that you're listening and then you called up to this show that you don't like. That makes you a loser, Mike. No, you're a loser. I don't even want to hear. You're a loser. Danny Tarkanian's on the show today. That's not a good excuse. The bottom line is you're listening to this show that you don't think is a real show, and you actually took the time out of your life to wait on hold for 10 minutes because I saw it on the Tron right in front of me on the screen. You were waiting on hold to tell me that you think my show sucks. You are the definition of a loser, Mike. Thank you for calling in. We appreciate that. You just exposed yourself to Las Vegas and beyond. We have another Mike on the line. I hope it's a better Mike. Mike, thank you for calling in. How are you?
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, it's a lot better. Don't worry. Hi,
I'm doing good, Mike. What's on your mind?
listen, in regards to Rose's comment, what Rose was trying to say, the female caller just before the other two male callers.
Yes, sir.
Everybody stands up for themselves in life when somebody attacks them, whether it's you, me, whoever we know, we stand up, and that's the way Donald Trump is. If somebody attacks some Democrat, Republicans, and don't forget the reason why he said what he said about the POW,
McCain, John McCain, yes.
Yes, McCain, is because McCain attacked him first. Don't forget
come
that.
on, Mike.
McCain,
Mike, with all due respect, Mike.
I'm not lying.
Mike, I didn't call you a liar.
I'm a
Mike,
listener, and
Mike,
I just want to
first of all, Mike, Mike, hold on, hang on.
I love your show.
Thank you, Mike. Mike, I didn't call you a liar. I didn't call you a liar. Number one. Number two, nothing that John McCain ever said about Donald Trump would give Donald Trump or even somebody like you or me an excuse to go after someone as a prisoner of war who served this country honorably. I don't care what John McCain said. You know what? Even if John McCain called his daughter, I don't know, a very bad term to call a female. I'm not going to say it on the air. Even if John McCain went, but by the way, he didn't. He never said anything even close to that. That never gives anybody an excuse, especially someone that is running for the president of the United States, to go after someone's service.
I agree. I agree with you on that 100%. But I just want to let you know that it was first McCain attacking Donald Trump.
So what?
Donald Trump attacked him viciously. But that's the way it is. It's like you put a bulldog in with another kind of dog, and if that dog attaches attacks that bulldog, guess what? That bulldog's going to come with a vengeance.
Mike, I understand.
Going to chew that dog up.
I understand.
And that's the way Donald Trump is. He's a bulldog.
I get it, Mike. Hey, I appreciate you calling in. Thank you.
It's a dog-eat-dog world.
I appreciate the phone call, Mike. We're just going to have to disagree on that one. Never in any circumstance, Chris, I'm sure you would agree, never in any circumstance is it okay to go after someone as a POW. 257-5396, the number to call.
Oh, those comments were absolutely, in my opinion, they were disqualifying for him as president of the United States. But we're way past that now. It's water under the bridge now. But still,
yes.
That being said, and look, and callers are. There's a difference here. We're talking about the president of the United States. This isn't, your average Joe, making comments about the average Joe. It is the president of the United States who feels that he needs to chime in anytime somebody says anything negative about the president. He feels he needs to jump on the internet and on Twitter and make a nickname up for him or have some type of negative comment back towards the person to defend himself. And it's like it's very petty.
It doesn't make sense. Let's go back to the calls. The phone lines are jammed. We apologize. If you're trying to call in and it's busy, please continue to try to call in if you're trying to call me a snowflake. Let's go to Lenny. Lenny, thank you for calling in. How are you, Lenny? We lost Lenny. Okay, that's good. Now we have a phone line open. Thank goodness for Lenny. Let's go to Tim. I believe Tim is the next caller. Tim, thanks for calling in. How are you?
Good. How you doing, Hillary? Brian.
Very funny. Very funny. By the way, for the record, I didn't vote for Hillary, so nice try.
Well, everything that Trump has said about McCain is true.
So you don't respect him? You don't
It's
hold on.
true.
You don't respect him for his service because he was captured? That's true? Nobody should respect him?
True. Yes,
You're saying you don't hold on. We're on in like what, JD? We're on in how many states? 4 states? 5 states? It's a 50,000 watt station, right?
Yeah, we're on Utah,
Okay.
Arizona, California, and Nevada.
So Tim, for the record, as they would say in the courtroom, you're saying right now on the radio with a lot of people listening, we do have a lot of listeners, I know it's shocking, you're saying you don't respect anything about John McCain's service because he was captured as a prisoner of war. Is that what you're about to say?
I'm saying what Trump said was true. And at the time Trump said it, he wasn't president.
Who cares? I'm asking you a question. He said he doesn't respect.
Saying that it's not presidential for him to act and say that stuff.
He was running for.
He wasn't president at the time.
He was running for president. He was a candidate for president. You want to split hairs on that? I mean, he's running for president. So the expectations are, your point of view and his opinion are going to matter to the American people. And obviously, it didn't matter, right? Because he's president now.
Tim, can I be frank,
it didn't matter when he said that, and it didn't matter when he's on the bus making the comments about female genitalia, and it didn't matter when he had about 4 or 5 other comments that were ridiculous.
That was locker room talk.
Yeah, I played 2 sports.
Locker room talk. Let me tell you something. I've been in a lot of locker rooms, my friend. And look, yes, there's been a lot of stuff that's said by men in locker rooms that I've said in locker rooms that aren't meant for the airwaves, are not meant for women's ears, are not meant for a lot of decent people's ears.
He didn't put it out.
Hey, but I'm trying to make a point here. Okay, it wasn't locker room talk. All right, it wasn't Hey, let me ask you something. All right, out of the people that you out of the people that you hang out with or that you've been in locker rooms with, okay, do they get that? I'm asking a question. Do they get that descriptive when it comes to an actual situation that could take place? Do they get and say, oh, because I am so famous and because I am a celebrity, women are going to allow me to take liberties like that?
All right, let's let Tim answer that. Tim, have you?
Yeah, can you answer that?
Yep, they do.
Well, it sounds like
come on.
Sounds
man.
like you got some great friends, Tim.
Come on,
man, come on.
Tim, you got some great friends. It's really you're going on a radio show, saying that people that you hang out with talk about bragging about sexual assault. Well, I appreciate
it's sexual assault. It's bragging about sexual assault.
I appreciate your honesty,
Did he do
Tim.
it? Maybe not. Maybe so. Maybe not. But it doesn't. But hey, that's what he was talking about.
Tim, I appreciate your honesty, but it really doesn't make you or your friends look very good. JD, let me ask you this: have you ever heard anyone in a locker room say that? Grab them by the P word. Is that locker room talk?
Like that exact verbatim?
Yeah.
Grab them by the 5-letter, start with the P, a couple stars after.
They let me do it.
No, I've never heard that in my life.
You know why the verbatim's important? It's because it's a mentality.
I've heard derivations of that, but not those words verbatim.
It's amazing that this is the example we want to set. We got so many other callers on the line. I'm going to try to get to as many as I can here. Let's go to Gary. Gary, thanks for calling into the Vegas Take. Gary, how are you? Gary, are you there? Gary, go ahead.
Yes, this is deplorable, Gary, and I love your show. I disagree with you most of the time, but I love your show.
And that's okay.
You take so many phone calls and you argue, and it's so entertaining. But your show tonight reminds me of one of those Seinfeld episodes when Kramer accuses Seinfeld of being anti-dentite. Because
you're right. It's exactly the same, Gary. Okay, I agree with you. Let's move on to another subject now. Why did you call in?
I called in to let you know that I like the show. I think you should expand on it and take calls.
Gary, I always like it when you call in. I appreciate your compliments. You're a funny guy. You actually sound you're not drunk tonight, so I appreciate that.
I'm not sensitive. Yes, I am a drunk.
Gary,
yes, it's true.
Gary, can I just say this, Gary? I love you, buddy.
Alcoholics Anonymous.
Gary, I love you. Okay, you're one of my favorite callers. I love you, Gary.
All right, don't scare me. All right. You're cool. We're good.
Thank you. All right, Gary. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. I meant that. I like Gary. JD, don't you like Gary? He's one of my favorite callers. He always mixes it up.
Gary's very unique in his approach.
He definitely is unique. Let's go to Will. Will, thanks for calling in. Will, how are you?
I will.
Honey, that's not what I told him. I told him the reason the men are turning into little girls is because we're eating damn female meat.
Will, do you realize you're on the radio right now?
Or a sow or a heifer.
Okay, well, I guess Will's not ready. I have no idea. I think that was like
was he practicing his dialogue that he's gonna spout
Will,
to you, Brian?
Are you in front of a mirror right now?
I think
something was going down.
I think that was locker room talk. Will, are you ready to be on the radio? Go ahead, Will.
Yes. I apologize. I was talking to somebody about something. And
that's quite all right.
Broke the protocols.
That's quite all right, Will. Go ahead.
Well, look, you guys. This reminds me like a raptor moment. You know what raptors are, right?
Velociraptor, the dinosaur?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they attack you from all different directions. They run in packs. So look, here's my point. Brian, I'm concerned about your show. You're almost, it's like a little Doug Basham or something, or son of Doug Basham.
I appreciate your concern, Will. Please make your point. Your concern means, no, I mean that. Your concern means so much to me. In fact, if you're concerned, I'm concerned. I might not even come in tomorrow. I'll let JD do the show by himself. What do you think about that?
As long as you don't call me, let's see, a moron, a nitwit, and a loser. I don't know where you're going next, but
okay. I'm just waiting for the nitwit to make a point. Go ahead.
All right, here's the point. Something you can jump on. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
I can't believe we brought these people here and freed them and killed our fellow brothers to give them some place to that they could see, and all of a sudden,
Who's they? Who are you talking about? Who's they? What are you talking about, Will?
Well,
Be clear.
those people who want to call me a racist or a bigot or a conqueror or a thief. I mean,
Okay. Well, I still don't know your point. Who are you talking about? Who has called you those names, number one? Who specifically are you talking about? Will, you have to make sense on this show.
Will,
I'm concerned about you.
Will, what race are you trying to call out
Yes,
here?
I'm concerned about the point you're trying to make.
Who did we bring to this country as slaves? Who brought the slaves in?
Oh, African American. You talking about African Americans then? Is that what you're saying?
Well, I think there were different. There were female slaves, African American. I think there was a bunch of different slaves.
And what is the point?
History of mankind.
Okay, so what is the point about slaves? You have hatred towards slaves or the slave? I don't understand what you're saying.
We brought those people here for some reason or another. And that was
I didn't do that. I wasn't alive.
No, we brought them here. No, they were brought here involuntarily for the purpose of slavery. There's no real.
Slaves.
Will, can I ask you a question?
It wasn't like a cruise ship.
Will, I have a serious question. Will, I have a serious.
Will, it was basically forceful kidnapping.
Will, I have a serious question for you. Do you have a problem with African Americans? Be honest.
Well, not unless they call me an MFer like that one guy did.
Do you have a problem? Would you ever date an African American? Do you have a problem with African Americans? If your daughter brought home an African American, would you have a problem with that? Be honest.
Oh, I think it's going. I think that's. I think going way over the edge of that.
Why won't you answer my question? Would you have a problem if you're
interpersonal
No, I'm saying that because every time you call in, you have a problem with African Americans. That's why. I think you have.
Say that. What are you talking about? I'm not talking about that at all.
Every time you call, what is your point? You're talking about slavery and how you dislike slaves. I mean, what is your point?
There are a slew of issues. They're like pop-up moments here. Everything is in play, and it's one moment's a race, one minute's a bigot, one minute's a woman like a man like a woman. We never know where we're going. I just try to stay with.
You're right. Every time you call in, I have absolutely no idea where you're going. So you're absolutely. I still don't know where you're going with this phone call.
Or in this case, who you're actually talking to.
Yes.
Well, that's probably true.
I have.
Now, look,
you have 10 seconds. You have 10 seconds, and I have to go to break.
God bless Donald J. Trump. I love that guy. I think he's an archangel.
Okay. All right. Fair.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. And what a shocker that you absolutely love Donald Trump, and then he's talking about how he hates slaves. I mean, wow. What a weird
I've never heard anybody refer to Donald Trump as an archangel. That's pretty impressive.
JD, aren't you going to say thank you for the great call? I'm waiting for you to say that. He won't do it that time. Okay, thank God he won't do it that time. Fine. Hey, we got to take a quick break. We'll take more of your calls at 252. I don't even know the number. 257-5396. We'll be back.